Right. Hope you can all hear me. I'll just do a little sound test. Hi, everyone. I can see there's a few people have already gathered. What's happened? Can you hear me all right? Can you hear me? Let's just see everyone can. Let's do a little. Oh, thank Neptune returns. Hello, Neptune. Loud and clear. Thanks, DJ. Hi, Neptune returns. Hi, DJ. Hi, Luke. Thank you. Thanks very much. Thank you, Eugenio Velasquez. Thank you. Cheers, Jeff. Thanks. I'm glad you can all hear me all right. Hope you're all right. Everybody, yeah, it's 9 p.m. Hi, Anthony Morn. Rock and roll, everybody. It's another Panwo TV live stream. I'm not just doing live streams. There is some more coming up, but this is not live streams. I haven't got those planned. It's just getting back into things. But hello, Anthony. Hello, Jeff. All of you. Much appreciated. Thank you for joining me this evening. Great. Good to have you here. Interview got what is it? Oh, let me just get this. Oh, I forgot something. Here we go. Okay. Have you got your copy yet? They make a great stocking filler, these do. They fit very nicely into a stocking. Yes, indeed. Let's put that back because I'm actually selling those to somebody over the weekend. So I better just put them back over. Somebody's buying all 3 books. Oh, let's just put that there. Yep, somebody's buying all 3 books in one go. Hello, Neptune Returns. Hello, Anthony Morn. And all of you. Right. Thanks for joining me this evening. Much appreciated. We're going to be talking about the Brexit vote, or whether there is one. When I first came up with the title of the actual live stream, of course, there was going to be a vote, wasn't there, on Tuesday, and nothing happened. Yes, Anthony. Yes, that's my new book. That's my new book. There's a video on my channel all about that, so do check that out. And as I said, if you like UFOs and things like that, you'll love this book. UFOs, Roswell, crash retrievals, exopolitics disclosure. That's what it's all about. So yeah, we have a situation now where there was going to be a vote. When I came up with this live stream, I wasn't sure whether to do it on the Wednesday or the Friday. I chose to do it on the Friday tonight because I thought something might happen, because I've made some notes here, but basically half of them are out of date because things are moving so quickly in this particular situation. Britain has entered a political crisis, the kind of which I've not seen in my lifetime. I think the lifetimes of most people alive today have not experienced a political crisis this bad. They really haven't. Videos from the underground. Hello, Jay Hobson. Just wait for a few more of you to arrive, then I'll begin my lead off. Jeff, Moss, Luke, Griffin, you guys are all here. Neptune returns. It's good to have you guys. Edwardian ladies there. Hi, Edwardian lady. How are you? And DJ Butu. Hello, all of you. Yes. And David Schultz. Hello, David. Thanks for joining me. Val and Dave. I know you tune in at a different time because I hope it's not too much of an unsocial hour for you. Because I know you live. I think it's in Maine, USA, and I know my friend from Australia should be dropping in soon. I hope. So I'm glad you're all here, and I'm glad you can all hear me at all. Videos, hopefully the English people will be able to see the light and leave the EU. I hope so. I really do, and I'll be coming into that because I mean, as I said, it is a massive political crisis that has unfolded. It's one that I kind of predicted. Now, if you go to the description box, I have remembered to actually put one in. Hi, Hugo. Bar humbug. Not in the Christmas spirit yet, Hugo. Oh, dear. As I said, it is something that I have covered before on this channel. In fact, in 2016, at the time of the vote, I covered it in great detail. I did several videos about it, and I've done a couple more since. But really, it's everything's coming to a head now because we're reaching the time when the Brexit process is supposed to be underway or completed, with the actual formal leaving of the EU by Britain, by United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. As I said, I made some notes here. Some of them are out of date because I made them before so much has been happening. But this is all about Brexit. Brexit, of course, is a neologism. It's a word that basically 5 years ago, if you said the word, people would go, "What's a Brexit?" Now it's on everybody's lips. That's the way language works. It's a portmanteau of Britain and exit. Britain's exit from the European Union. That's it. Now, to give you a bit of background, and I have covered this in the background videos which I did in 2016, which you'll see in the description box. The whole issue to do with the European Union is to do with the New World Order. Now, the idea that dictatorial world government could be achieved in a two-stage process. So basically, there will be two phases leading up towards a one world government, a tyrannical one world government, which is what the New World Order is primarily a 20th century idea. I don't know if I've not heard of any notion of it before then, but it's something that has been promoted. It's been invented. It was, I suppose, the idea of European unity goes back to Richard Count von Coudenhove-Kalergi, who wrote a book called The Pan-Europa in 1920. And he's been called the father of the European Union. And he is the first person to receive the Charlemagne Prize, which is often called the Kalergi Prize. And I got a little feeling that Theresa May is going to be another laureate pretty soon. Other illustrious winners of the Charlemagne Prize are Angela Merkel, Bill Clinton, Pope Francis, Tony Blair, David Cameron. If you ever be shortlisted, that is the noble club that you'll be entering. So what happened was the idea that there was we could achieve there'd be a two-stage process towards one world government. The first phase would be continental superstates. So the nation-state system would be broken down, but not straight away into a single one world government. There would be a intermediate phase which would involve 4 or 5 continental superstates. Now, this was predicted very much by George Orwell in the book 1984. There are 3 superstates in that book. In reality, all he got wrong was the number. The plan is for there to be about 5. There'd be the European Union, African Union, North American Union, South American Union, Australian Asian Union, and that would include Australia and the Pacific region and Asia. There may be a 6th one. I don't know how they're exactly planning to divide it up. But basically, the entire nation-state order would be broken down, and all the original nations would be absorbed into these superstates. From there, after a little bit of, I don't know how they do it, in 1984, it's through continuous war, where the different superblocks are fighting each other, but then they suddenly change almost seamlessly from one to the other. And, Eurasia, Oceania is at war with East Asia, then it's at war with Eurasia, then it's Eurasia are our allies, and we're at war with East Asia, and no one even notices. That could be the plan. Or it could be that eventually there'd be a direct, usually within a couple of decades, there'd be a direct transition then to one world tyrannical government. So that is what's at stake. And this is why Brexit's so important, because it represents a major spanner in the works. I know not everyone agrees with me on this. People within the conspiratorial movement, there's many of them that just think the whole thing's a scam, and they go, "Oh, Ben, can't you see it? It's just another level of the scam, Ben. Can't you see it? It doesn't matter because Brexit's just another plan by the New World Order. I can see it, but you can't. This is why I'm so much cleverer than you are, Ben." I've had a lot of that, but I don't agree with those people, and I've written several times. I've put a lot of material out there explaining why I don't agree. And I'd also like to ask these people, by what criteria would you then accept that the New World Order is over? Because a lot of these people, I mean, they're essentially saying that the New World Order can never be seen to end. And it doesn't matter how much evidence you suggests that something has gone wrong with the agenda. What looks like evidence that something's gone wrong with the agenda is just a deeper, more subtle part of the plan, that the agenda is on track. I've heard people say, "I will know the New World Order is over when I see Dr. Judy Wood on 10 o'clock on the 10 o'clock news." Right. Well, that certainly would be a healthy step in the right direction, you might say. But would that happen spontaneously, or would there be a process leading up to that? Because I think these people tend to think that it would just somehow, it would be a bootstrap effect. It would just be a reactionless cause or causeless reaction. It would just happen for no reason at all. I don't accept that. I think there'll be a process. And I think that process is underway now. It's what I call the 2016 effect. It includes Trump and the election of Donald Trump, and the Brexit referendum vote that went to leave. Still, this cold won't go away. At least the remaining symptoms won't go away. I'm sorry about that. Sorry. So I call this the 2016 effect, and whether sometimes something happens that makes me think that the powers that be are regrouping, and they're striking back. The Empire's striking back, so to speak. Maybe this year will be Return of the Jedi. I don't know. I've done an entire video on that, actually. If you look at my QAnon live stream, that's the one to look at. There was the recordings there if you want to look at it. So that's basically what's at stake. That's why I think this is so important. Now, the European Union was formed over a long period of time. I mean, you could say that the Pan-Europa movement was actually running all the way through from the publication in 1920 of Kalergi's book. But the first practical step was taken in 1946 with the Brussels Treaty, which was primarily military. It was something brought out in the aftermath of World War II, where it was quite easy to form international military alliances because of the devastating war that had just been fought. This was followed by several other treaties, but I think the biggest step, apart from the actual formation of the European Union itself and its adoption of that title, was the formation of the European Economic Community, and that was formed in the late 1960s, and Britain joined in 1973. And Britain, the government at the time under Ted Heath, who was one of the biggest traitors the country's ever seen, as well as even the mainstream are admitting now, a paedophile. No one's thanking David Icke for saying that before it was cool to think that. But yeah, and Britain joined in 1973, and after they joined, they decided to ask the people 2 years later whether they wanted to go in. And they'd already decided that they were going to do this. They weren't going to consult anyone. This is why they decimalised the currency in 1971. They turned it from pounds, shillings, and pence into just pounds and new pence. They decimalised the currency to make it more European, because if you look at various currencies on the continent, like the old currencies before the euro, like the French franc, the German mark, the Dutch guilder, and things like that, they're all subdivided by just smaller units, which are all 100. There's always 100 in every one of them, usually called cents, which just basically is Latin for 100 or hundredths. So they basically turned the British pound into a continental currency by doing away with the shillings and just having new pence. Then in 1973, they just said, we're going into the European Economic Community. Now, in 1975, they gave us a referendum. Yeah, and I've been looking into that. I've been looking at the propaganda and everything that went into that, and it was so similar. The Remains, the Remainers. There was the Remainers and the Leavers, so-called. It wasn't called that in those days. It was those who were the Remainers, were the people who wanted to sustain the EEC because we were already in there without being told. The Leavers were the people who wanted to just out of the EEC. There was no talk about political integration in those days. There was one or two voices speaking out in the wilderness. One of them was Tony Benn, who sadly passed away before June 2016. So I think he'd have died happier knowing what happened in that referendum. But he said, this is going to be a United States of Europe. He said it. And he said that his whole life. A few people took notice of him. Jeremy Corbyn, actually, who is actually a leaver. He won't actually admit it at the moment because political expediency, and also I think maybe he's still on with Diane Abbott. I don't know. They did have a fling in the early 80s when they were both young MPs, but he is actually. He says he's a Remainer now, but I mean he's been a Leave voter all his life. He's probably just pretending to be a Remainer because he's Labour leader now. So that was it. The European Economic Community gradually grew into the EU through a number of certain stages, including the Maastricht Treaty, which was one of the dirtiest deals we've ever seen, because the countries were given the right to vote on it. Most countries, I think, were given referendums on voting for it. Now, a large number of those countries said no. Norway, Luxembourg, I don't know which were the other ones. France, Netherlands, a lot. I think Sweden and Denmark. This was in the early 1990s. They gave people a referendum right. Now, what they did was the results of those referendums. Guess what happened? They went on to, they had a second referendum. They said, look, we're giving people a choice, right? Everyone can choose to join adopt the Maastricht Treaty, but as long as you choose to agree. Now, doesn't that remind you of the Ramonas today? Because that's essentially what they're saying. They're essentially saying I'm not going to repeat what I said before because it's in previous videos, such as my video, Richard Dawkins patronising Git. That's a good one. That's a short video, which I'm very proud of, and the various other ones that I've done. But basically, they are saying that in the 2016 referendum, we essentially made the wrong choice. People made the wrong choice. Therefore, it should be just thrown out. It should be declared void. If they make the right choice, of course, then it should be adopted. So people, this is this strange Orwellian concept of choice that the government are giving us at the moment. You're allowed to choose your fate as long as you choose what we tell you to choose. Very odd, isn't it? Now, there were several other instances. For example, the European Constitution was refused by two countries, Ireland and Portugal. And guess what happened? They got those countries to vote again. What they did was they came up with something they said was totally different, called the Lisbon Treaty, which Ireland and Portugal voted for again, and this time they accepted. The thing about it is those two countries were the ones that turned down the European Constitution. And the Lisbon Treaty is the European Constitution in all but name. Now, in 2016, everything went wrong for the Illuminati. There was a massive snafu in the engine room. And in the background videos, I tell you all about that. I go into it in great detail about exactly what happened, which resulted in David Cameron, that lover of pigs, Bullingdon Club member, announcing that which I'm sure he's being castigated for it. He may be stripped of his Kalergi Prize. He announced that he was going to hold a referendum for the 2015 general election. And he said that if he won, he would promise a in-out referendum on Britain's membership of the European Union. The reason he did this was because he was scared. He knew that he had this crooked coalition with the Liberal Democrats, but he knew that he had to win a majority. And what's more, UKIP were going to stop that. UKIP were going to cut the vote, which means there'd be another hung parliament. So he did this to try and head the UKIP voters off the pass, because he knew that the UKIP were promising this particular vote. And I'll say more about UKIP later, because I think UKIP are more than they seem to be. Oh, hang on a minute. Excuse me. I'm getting my usual symptoms when I'm talking for a long time. When I talk for a long time, I either get itchy nose, I either get the yawns, or I get coughing. So apologies for that. So as I said, I've gone into this in detail in the background videos. But so David Cameron did this, and then of course he won the election, and now he put himself in a position. This is why the Ramonas hate him, because he put himself in a position where he had to honour that agreement. And so on Thursday, 23rd of June, the following year, he had to honour that referendum. And they threw everything at us, didn't they? Do you remember that? I did. This is why I cover this in those videos at the time. So please do watch the videos, the background videos. They threw everything at us. They called us racists and haters if we voted leave. We were told that the country would be in ruins. We destroyed the economy. But in one of the moments where I feel the most pride and the most respect for the British people ever, we won 52% to 48%. And now the Ramonas say, well, it's only 2%. They didn't really win, did they? Well, the rules actually say majority. It's the Ramonas now who want to change the rules because they didn't get the result they want. They want to change the rules in retrospect, say that vote didn't win. This is why that very same week Germany beat England in the Euro 2017 2016 tournament. They beat England by 2-0. No, sorry, 2-1. So there was a petition going round to have a replay. And the petition, it was really funny. I signed it because, come on, it's only one little goal. Germany didn't really win, did they? You see how ridiculous it is. But also, you know, you hear the term "finest hour" from that globalist genocidal maniac Winston Churchill. I think the term "finest hour" is true, but it doesn't apply to the Battle of Britain. I think it applies to this 2016, not 1945. It applies to 2016. I think this is our finest. This was our finest hour. This was the Battle of Britain, the real Battle of Britain that we won. We won our country back, and we didn't have to kill anyone. We didn't have to try and just exterminate the Germans. That was our finest hour, and that was one of the most patriotic moments of my life. It's when I felt the most respect and the most admiration for the British people. And of course, the Ramonas went crazy, didn't they? Polly Toynbee, utter scum. White van drivers have destroyed the nation. And there was that ridiculous petition, Richard Dawkins. Oh God! Just watch my video, Richard Dawkins patronising Git. Okay, I'm not going to repeat that again, but just see how angry I am in that. So that was it, June 23rd, 2016, British Independence Day. We've had two since then. I've celebrated them both. But of course, well, an awful lot happened since then. Just go forward slightly. Yeah, it was, of course, like I said, there's the Leave vote won. But the thing is, at the moment the Leave vote won, the government, I mean, I actually said this at the time. I said that they would say, as David Cameron said, Britain will leave the European Union. The people have spoken. And the moment the TV cameras are off, it's, oh God, how are we going to get out of this? We can't honour the results of this referendum. We have to betray the people. But how can we do it while making it look like we're not? And that, ladies and gentlemen, is where Theresa May comes in. That is her job. That's what she's doing. That is what she's doing. So that's basically what's happening. She's desperately trying to prevent this from happening. And we've seen it. We've been watching it, haven't we? It's been one catastrophe after another. This slow, steady grind, this plod towards our freedom it's just been getting slower and slower and slower. And now it just feels like it's just ground to a halt. And everyone is just going, oh my goodness, isn't this difficult? The Ramonas are saying, look, it's just so hard. This is just too difficult to do. We're going to have to stay in the European Union. Oh dear. That should really worry us. This lobster pot which is this federation, this dictatorial federation, this continental empire. It seems as if it seems very easy to get into, but very hard to get out of. When something's that hard to get out of, that should worry you. It means that they're going to fight. I mean, they've always fought this. I mean, this has been so important. Britain in the EU, it's been so important. You know, that there was actually in 1992, there was a bloodless coup in this country. Margaret Thatcher was deposed. Now, you whatever your opinions are on Margaret Thatcher, it doesn't matter. She was still an elected leader, but she was removed through an extra political process. And they put in the John Major. The reason was Thatcher was against European integration. She was a Leave voter. She was a Brexiteer. Although those terms didn't exist in those days, she was a Brexiteer. So they kicked her out and they put in a Ramona, John Major. So this is how important all this is to them. You see how desperate they are for this. And I think that it's actually the divorce deal is actually really the biggest spanner that Theresa May has thrown in the works so far. Everything's been leading up to this deal. And don't believe all the crap about it. You know, it's just too difficult. No, it's not too difficult. This is a country that built 140 Spitfires in 2 months. Do you really think we cannot negotiate an economic relationship with countries which we've been trading with since prehistoric times? I mean, the copper mine up on the Great Orme copper mine, that's been running since 2000 BC. There was no EU in those days. There was, we could turn a penny with our continental neighbours without some monstrous dictatorial tyranny regulating the process. I mean, you've seen the scaremongering stories, haven't you? Travel ban in place. It'll cost you £5,000 if you want to go on holiday to the Mediterranean, things like that. What utter rubbish. I had to show somebody a video on YouTube, which is an old Pathé movie. It's an old home movie of British tourists on a holiday in Greece in 1966. 1966. This is 9 years before you were in the EEC. And you know what? They're having a great time. They're doing what tourists nowadays do. Do you honestly think that the only reason we can take holidays abroad is because of some overarching monstrous hegemony regulating the process? Is the only way we can sell and buy things with the countries closest to us is because of the regulation of this monstrous hegemony? My dad is a Ramona, and he says we need to be in Europe. I says we're in Europe. Britain is an island off the coast of Europe. Do you really think we're going to be plucked? The British Isles are going to be ripped out of the ground and moved to the Mid-Atlantic Ridge or something? The English Channel is going to be the same width after Brexit as it is before Brexit. The Channel Tunnel is not going to be filled in. But the way they're talking, I mean, have you seen the headlines? No deal Brexit comes. The army is on standby to deliver essential supplies. Oh my God, Godzilla is going to come out of the sea. He's going to eat us all. What utter bullshit. I mean, I've never heard anything like it. I mean, the good thing that's come out of this, no matter how this ends, some really good things have come out of this process. The last 2 years has seen the dissolution of political spin. They really cannot get away with lying anymore. They have to be honest about why they're doing it. And not just the Tories, Labour are exactly the same. Labour even more so. Labour, I think, have proved that they're not the party of the working class anymore. That's what they were set up over a century ago to be the party of the working class. Today, they are the party of the left-wing middle class and, what shall we say, protected demographics. The white working class has no political party, not yet. There might be one. I'll come to that in a minute. The Tories are they're being quite. It's getting harder and harder now for the powers that be, or shouldn't be, or were, as Niall Murphy says, to hide what they're doing. The gloves have come off. I mean, we've seen, like I said, Polly Toynbee is a perfect example, because she's a big middle class left wing Labour activist and journalist, and they all are now. They're not trying anymore to hide their contempt for the white working class, especially white heterosexual men who are in the working class. They're not trying to hide it anymore. They're saying it openly. The gloves are off. That's what I mean by the end of spin. That's what the last 2 years have done. And essentially, it's forced everyone into a position where they have to fight. They have to fight honestly. And of course, when that happens in the world of politics, it's a disaster for anyone who wants to do what politicians normally do, which is lie through their teeth and manipulate. It's much more difficult to do that. And however this ends, that's not going to change. That's the good news. So the deal, right now, so Theresa May's put this deal through, which has been agreed by the cabinet, straight through the cabinet. Also, the EU Commission formed a summit to deal with it, and they also agreed to it. The other member states agreed to it. It's interesting how they never call EU constituent countries. They never call them countries or nations. They always call them member states. The word country and nation is never used to describe constituent components of the EU. Well, the deal is completely unacceptable. Theresa May's deal is going to be rejected by Parliament. Now, since I wrote these notes down, she's actually postponed the deal. And she, again, this is another example of unacceptable honesty for politicians, because she has postponed the deal and said, I'm postponing this deal because I don't think Parliament will agree to it. And then it's like usually the men in grey suits will be standing behind her saying, look, Theresa, you're not supposed to say that. You're supposed to come up with some kind of excuse. And it's like the government, the government have been found in contempt of Parliament. Now, this is the first time this has happened in living memory. The judiciary has actually turned against the government. The Attorney General actually found the government. This is the correct thing. The High Court found, and the Attorney General found the government in contempt of Parliament. And I don't think that's happened since the days of King Charles. And so they forced the government to publish the legal advice on Theresa May's deal. And this is really interesting because if you read the document, it's incredible because it exposes what it is. Now, what Theresa May, she's making an excuse to actually create a deal which has been called Brexit in name only. It's actually far worse than that. I call it national suicide. And it's meant to be awful. It's meant to be like that. And what she's doing is she says this is about protecting the rights of the people who live along the border of Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland. Because you know that, of course, in 1920, the island was partitioned between the Irish Free State and Northern Ireland. Since then, in 1947, the Irish Free State became the Republic of Ireland. Now, there's the transition between those two things, that is Ireland leaving the British Commonwealth, didn't really cause much trouble with the border. Because the border was created in 1920, and it was created, it was agreed, it was all sorted out by what's called the Anglo-Irish Agreement, which said that there would be free travel between the two sides, and everyone who lived in Ireland was offered dual citizenship. Now, technically, the Anglo-Irish Agreement still stands. This is why when we got the leave vote in June 2016, people said, "Oh, loads of British people are applying for Irish passports." So but what they didn't say was that nearly all of them were in Northern Ireland. They were actually applying for Irish passports under the Anglo-Irish Agreement. You see, the reason they did it because they didn't want to leave the EU. And the thing is, they'd never bothered having an Irish passport before, either because they were born in Northern Ireland, you get a British passport. But they never bothered going for an Irish one as well because of the free movement between the two sides of Ireland. Now suddenly they want an Irish passport for that reason. The thing about it is, it'd be very, very easy simply to roll back that situation to the original Anglo-Irish Agreement. I don't see why that should be so difficult. I don't see why that should be a problem. In a sense, this is an artificial problem that's been created. It's just another spanner in the works. It's probably the biggest spanner in the works. So what's happened is Theresa May has come up with a brilliant idea, which is called backstop. Now, a backstop is actually a sporting term. It means the netting behind I think it's primarily baseball or other bat and ball games, to actually catch the ball, which goes toward, if it doesn't go through, if it's not blocked by the catcher, as in baseball, or whatever they call it in rounders, the wicket keeper in cricket. And now this now means a policy by which Theresa May has presented as a temporary measure to protect the free movement across that border. The thing about it is the Attorney General, and what the Attorney General has revealed is that it's simply a trick, I believe, to keep Britain within the auspices of the European Union after Brexit. Because what it actually says is that this backstop would be in place for an indefinite period of time before the EU and Britain can come to some kind of other arrangement, a more permanent arrangement regarding trade between Northern Ireland and the Irish Republic. And this is worrying people because there's people who live along that border. There's towns where the border goes through them, and people work on both sides, and they move around almost as if that border didn't exist, and they don't want that to stop. Well, I don't see why it should stop. Again, this is another artificial obstacle. There's no need for any damn backstop. It would be if there was a real process to deliver Brexit, this would have been done and dusted 2 years ago. The only reason this is existing is because they're desperately trying to stop Brexit. And they don't care how many lives they ruin in the meantime. They don't care how much economic vandalism they do in the meantime. They don't care about anything so long as they stop Brexit. So this whole backstop thing is just another spanner in the works. It's another sleeper across the railway lines that Theresa May has put down. It's another pothole in the road that she's dug. She's going to get the Kalergi Prize, you know. I bet you can see it coming. Along with Joe Cox. You know, Joe Cox is they've named a street in Brussels after her. I've got a feeling Joe Cox is going to get the posthumous Kalergi Prize, although maybe posthumous is the wrong word. She's still alive under a different identity, perhaps. Now, there were several other parts of the withdrawal agreement that has been agreed, like everyone's agreed that Britain should pay £39 billion, it's called the divorce bill, in order to break our partnership. £39 billion. You could build 20 teaching hospitals with that. I'll tell you what, I mean, my position is very different. I explain this in the background links. There should be no referendum. There should be no Article 50. We simply say we're leaving. We just tell everyone we're leaving, and we set up bilateral trade deals with our trading partners. That's what we do. And if they want to come and collect the divorce bill, we'll meet them on the beach. You see, the thing about it is Britain's entry into the European Union was an act of treason. You don't have a referendum on treason. You don't have a referendum on treason. You simply tear up our membership papers and you hang the people responsible. Ted Heath, David Cameron, Tony Blair. That's it. Swing them from Westminster Bridge. That's what you do with treason. That's what you do with things like that. What will happen to UK citizens living elsewhere in the EU? And equally, what will happen to EU citizens living in the UK? This is the Ramonas are portraying this as if there was literally no travel between Britain and the continent before 1973. That's what they're saying. It just didn't happen. We were like North Korea before 1973. There was like this big wall built along on the bed of the English Channel, like a big Trumpian wall, 20 feet high with barbed wire around it. And, you know, we never used to go anywhere. It's absurd. My mother was a Dutch woman, and she spent her whole life in Britain. She came over here, I think, in the late 1960s, so when she met my dad, and she lived her whole life over here. I know people who've been living abroad. I mean, who've been living in France, Germany, the Netherlands. They're from Britain. They live over there. They've negotiated residential rights with the countries of their choice. Now, that's the answer to what will happen to EU citizens in Britain. It's the answer to what will happen to UK citizens living elsewhere. We renegotiate your residential rights. It's not rocket science. This has been done before. Why can't we do it again? Oh, now, again, like I said, this whole process is ground to a halt. There's talking about a transitional period, which is supposed to go on until the end of 2020, but it's probably they're going to try and drag it on for much, much longer than that. And it's going to get even worse. It really is. At the moment, there's been no cancellation of the 29th of March leaving date. But so that's Brexit Day. If that goes ahead, that will probably become Independence Day instead of June the 23rd. But now we've got to wait now for the all to go through Parliament. Now, this could be 21st of January. The Prime Minister says she's going to try and ask for the EU changes for the deal before she brings the deal back to Parliament by the 21st of January. Well, that's a long time. That's more than a month. So that's another obstacle. We have to stop for a month and wait again. This is like you get this feeling, don't you? See people doing this. You see little kids. You say to your child, "Go and tidy your room." He goes up there and he's really sulky, you know, and he picks up like one toy and he puts it on the shelf, and he spends a whole minute like getting it in the right place on the shelf. And he reaches down, and he picks up another toy. And, you know, he's not going to clean his room. He's just looking like he's doing it. And he's doing it as slowly as he possibly can and as awkwardly as he possibly can. That's Theresa May organising Brexit. So that's it. So now that it's going to be next month, it'll be the new year, past the new year, 21st of January, when there's going to be possibly another vote. But then there was the vote of no confidence in Theresa May, which happened this week. which was presented by 48 Conservative MPs. And this is interesting because in Britain, unlike the United States, we don't have an elected head of government. The head of government is simply the leader of the party that is the majority in the House of Commons. Now, this is odd because I remember covering this at the time when Theresa May first became Prime Minister, and she threw that general election, which completely screwed her because she ended up with a hung parliament again and had to do a deal with the DUP, the Democratic Unionist Party. I thought she wouldn't last. I said that's a situation that can't last. I said she'd be out by November 2017. Well, she's still there now. So I mean, I was wrong about that. She somehow managed to hang on. It shows how important she is to the EU. I think that the good news is the DUP are getting fed up with her. I think they are basically holding her up, and they're going to stop pretty soon over the Northern Ireland issue. But anyway, she survived and voted no confidence, which means she can't be challenged again for at least another year, maximum another year at least, which means she can stay for the maximum of a year. I don't know how this is going to end, but anyway. What happens if Parliament rejects the deal? This is awful because, I mean, again, the backstop principle, the reason the backstop principle is so awful is because this negotiation period, this is what's in the Attorney General's report, could literally go on forever. It could go on forever. Now, originally Northern Ireland, it was only going to affect Northern Ireland. Now May is saying it should affect the whole country, which means effectively there's an infinite amount of time where the EU basically dictates all British economic policy. Now, that's almost like we're almost like a colony in that case of the European Union. And that's the idea. Brexit in name only. So the default position, if Parliament rejects the deal, the default position is the UK will leave the European Union without a deal on the 29th of March. But of course, I don't think that's going to happen. That would be the ideal situation, actually. It's not the best situation, but it's the best way out of this. Is simply to leave without a deal and then sort it out afterwards, which would be difficult. But the only reason that would be difficult and that would be a blow, it would be a major shock. It'd be a big leap into the deep end. But the only reason it'd be a big leap into the deep end was because all the damage that has been done by the government. It wouldn't have happened if they hadn't kept throwing spanners into the works. Everything would run like clockwork. So it's written into the law, that is in the referendum, into the Referendum Acts and things like that. So 11 p.m. UK time, 29th of March, we're free, we're independent. But if there's no deal or Parliament rejects the deal, it's impossible to say with any certainty what could happen next. The deadline of the 29th of March could be extended, which is quite likely. And this is the interesting, the European Court of Justice has now said that the UK could cancel Brexit altogether without the agreement of the European Constitution, the European Commission Congress. It could cancel Brexit altogether without any further legislation. And I've come across a page here, which is where, here we go. Yeah, because today she headed off to Brussels to seek additional reassurance, whatever that means, about the backstop. That's part of the withdrawal agreement to prevent a hard border on the island of Ireland if no trade agreement is reached between the EU and the UK by the end of the transitional period. And as I said, there's no need for any additional legislation apart from a rolling back to the original Anglo-Irish agreement. It's not clear when MPs will now get the chance to vote, but the government has promised it will be before the 21st of January. Well, oh, yeah. And the Brexit deal cannot be legally implemented until it's been approved by the House of Commons. So there's a flow chart here. It says if it's passed, the government introduces legislation. If it's passed, the withdrawal agreement comes into force by the 29th of March. If not, it is rejected. The government has 21 days after that, after the 21st of January, to set out a plan of action. And there are 5 options here. No deal, that's leaving without a deal on the 29th of March. Renegotiate, which means basically everything goes back to square one. And the whole Brexit process begins again. A general election, which God knows what would happen there, because there'd be a massive low turnout and probably, I don't know, we might get Labour in power, which I don't know what, or the Tories will get back in. Either one will be awful. A vote of no confidence, which will probably lead to a general election, or a second referendum. course, the second referendum, I've been talking about it. I said that this would happen, and it's looking more and more likely. The EU Withdrawal Act passed by Parliament in June sets out some rules. Following a government defeat, right, the European Court of Justice has ruled it will be legal for the UK to unilaterally revoke Article 50. See, this is the whole point. This is what they're moving for. So there's all kinds of things that could happen. A major renegotiation. It says here major renegotiation. Well, that basically means everything goes back to square one. Everything goes back to square one. Look how long it's taken them to drag their heels into the deal they have now. This awful deal they have now, which is all designed to sabotage Brexit. They'd have to find another way to sabotage Brexit, which will probably take another 2 years at least. Oh. Okay, so there could be a general election, in which case which will just simply, again, either Labour or Tories would win. And everything would then again go back to square one, because the whole process would start again with under whichever government won. Vote no confidence again, that's the sort of thing. Another referendum, here we go. The government could instead choose to have another referendum. As with the renegotiation or early election, this might well require an extension of Article 50. It's probably already too late to hold a referendum before the 29th of March. Well, I wouldn't count it. I tell you what, if it's something they want, they can get it done pretty quickly. There would have to be a new piece of legislation to make the referendum happen. Yeah, it couldn't be rushed through. Yes, it could. In time for the Electoral Commission to consider and advise on the referendum question. They would extend the deadline of 29th of March if necessary. And yeah, the referendum. This is the problem. I'll come back to that in a minute, because that's important. So there's several things that could happen. Now, since I wrote these notes, of course, we've had the vote no confidence. Theresa May has survived. Somehow she's in power a couple of years longer than I thought she would be. What about UKIP? What are UKIP doing about this? Now, this is where things get a little bit concerning, because UKIP have been essentially the go-to place for people who are against the European Union. Now, I do recommend the Hapanmo show. If you listen to Hapanmo Radio, Hapanmo show 305, where I interview Caroline Stevens. She's a former member of UKIP. She is now exposing all this now. Again, she's exposing all this to do with the New World Order and UKIP's role in that. Because I wasn't exactly sure what was going on. Nigel Farage, who is the principal leader for most of its most important part of its history, Nigel Farage, announced just a few days ago on his LBC radio show that he was resigning. He says, I'm resigning from the United Kingdom Independence Party. Now, he's off the executive table anyway, so it's not like he's the leader quitting. But he's still a highly influential character within the party, because, as I said, he was the most significant figure within that party. He's kind of the face of UKIP in a way. And this has caused a major drama, as the Australians would say. And the reason he's quitting is because of this clash he's got with UKIP's current leader, who is Gerard Batten. Now, Gerard Batten appointed Tommy Robinson to advise the party. He didn't make him a member, not yet, but he's appointed him as an advisor. Tommy Robinson, a very controversial figure, former English Defence League leader. Now, this is all part of the reason why UKIP has gone through this radicalisation process. Because if you remember, there was this vogue of YouTubers joining. Sargon of Akkad joined, Paul Joseph Watson. And of course, when they joined, a lot of their fans went and joined as well. So Farage doesn't object to that, but he objects to this shift to the right that the party has undergone. He wants it to remain on the centre right, and he's gone against Gerard Batten because of that. Gerard Batten was on Sky News the other day defending his decision to work with Tommy Robinson. Now, what's interesting about the interview, there's a 6-minute interview with Gerard Batten on Sky News. The whole subject of Brexit doesn't even come up until after 4 minutes has gone. And as psychologists have found out, the human attention span watching TV, I think, declines after 3 minutes on a single segment, on a single scene. And in fact, Gerald Batten asks if he can talk about Brexit earlier in the discussion. The reporter refuses. So when the subject comes up, basically the attention span of the viewer is weakened. And then Batten says pretty much an awful lot of what I've been saying since 2016. He's been saying that the government is looking for a way to scupper the entire situation. And the question is, why now is this all coming up? Now, Nigel Farage, just a year ago, he said something that made me think he'd lost his mind. He said he supported the idea of a second referendum. And I wrote an article about this saying he must be out of his tree to suggest that. This is what the Ramonas are going on about. And he throws them. He throws them a slow ball and says, there you are. Open goal, guys. The one and only Nigel Farage is supporting, is going along with you for a second referendum. And he backpedaled after that, after a lot of criticism. There was an outcry. But I mean, he did. He said, well, maybe a second referendum is not a bad idea. So we're in a situation now where UKIP are fixating on a matter of internal policy. This thing to do with Tommy Robinson, whether you support it or whether you're opposed to it, can't it be deferred until after the more important job is done? Because this is what you would think UKIP was created for. What's going on at the moment in Parliament, this crisis that's underway, is what UKIP was created for, to act as a parliamentary political opposition to it. And they're wasting time on a matter of internal policy. This means that Nigel Farage, there's only two possibilities. Nigel Farage is either a madman or he's a government stooge. Probably the latter. Yeah. Now, if you want to know more, actually, if you tune into Stepping Stones of Awareness, which is Caroline Stevens' channel tomorrow about 5 p.m, I'm going to be on it. So you'll see an interview with me. All right. So just to let you know that. So what happens next? Well, there is good news here, but the good news is there's no good news in this country. I think they're trying to truss up the whole thing like a turkey, and it's doing terrible damage to the country, and they're going to try and keep the EU in. The good news is the EU itself is in trouble, which goes beyond just Brexit. Brexit is just one, and probably not the most serious problem that the EU has at the moment. They've got far worse things to worry about. And I actually think that by the time Britain gets around to leaving, there will be nothing left to leave. Because there's many of the member states have now elected, they've either elected anti-EU, anti-globalist governments, or there are parties within those countries rising, or politicians within those countries rising up on a path towards government. And a lot of people, I think, are beginning to understand what's going on in this migration pact, for example. And the migration crisis in the last couple of years, I think, has really made people wonder, why is this happening? Why now? And it's all to do with, and I've spoken about this before, and I mean, it's sad because, I mean, I live with two Sudanese guys, and they're great guys, but it's all been done for a purpose, which I've spoken about before. It's a strategic method for breaking down the current order and replacing it with a new world order, in a nutshell. Now, people have seen this happening. In Italy, they've just elected an anti-globalist who wants Italy out of the EU. Austria now has the FPO, which is an anti-EU government. There's the Alternative for Germany party in Germany, which is hopefully going to take Germany out now that horrible old cow Angela Merkel's gone, or is going to go. I mean, she's appointed a successor, which a woman who looks like a clone of her, actually, and sounds like her clone. But hopefully that'll be sorted soon. And then Marine Le Pen in France she gets, in a couple of years, she gets another chance at the presidency. Now, all these people have in common are that the Ramonas call them racists. And again, see, all of them, they're all racists. And if you support them, you're a racist. So you see, we're all racists, as if, everything we've been through, we've had our characters assassinated on top of everything else. We've been told that we're basically evil people for the stance that we have stood by for the last 2 years and 2.5 years. And then at the end of it all, they're not even going to grant us our wish under the referendum. And it's the same all over Europe. They're saying that all these people are racists. They're all evil haters. And I don't think that's going to end until the events has proven us true, in a sense, until this New World Order conspiracy is over. Then everyone will see what a load of nonsense it was. That's literally the only thing that's going to end it all. And that's the end. That's a long lead off. Nearly went on for an hour. Right. So let's go. So I see there's there's 50 of you watching. So thanks, guys. That's a lot of people. So that's good. So I want to say hello to everyone in the chat box who has joined. Video Swing Underground, David Schultz, Hugo Roon, Neptune Returns, Anthony Morn says, it's like the UK are making every excuse they can to stay in the EU. It's all bullshit, Ben. The UK won't ever leave, mark my words. Well, Anthony, yeah, I think the way it's going, as I say, I think we've got to wait for the EU to be destroyed in order for us to get out, to actually to be. I think it's got to be destroyed, actually, so there's just nothing left to leave. DJ Booty said EU was Mr. Hitler's West Dream. It's funny enough that Hitler had a plan, actually, to create what he called the Europäische Vereinschaft, which means European Union in German. Maybe that's why they gave him so much money. That's why the bankers gave him so much money. Martin Pran, can we get Theresa May to be abducted by aliens, please, Ben? Martin, you're pretty cruel to the aliens, you know. Honestly. How could you do that to aliens? Innocent aliens. Yeah, Neptune Returns. It won't leave. They don't want it. Neptune, you know what's happening in Ireland right now? You know how you've been screwed. You've been screwed much worse than we have with the Lisbon Treaty, which essentially was simply, like I said, it's voting again on when you made the wrong decision before. Computing Forever. He's very good about things like that on YouTube. Eugenio says Brexit is fake. The City of London is behind it. We will stay in the single market. City of London does not want to pay tax, deny foreign workers' rights. They would have to be if we were in the EU. I don't think it is. Brexit is not fake. I'm not sure exactly what you mean. If you mean is it just another part of the plan, as several other researchers on our side have said, and I've explained in the lead off. I don't agree with that. If you mean that what's happening right now is a fraud to prevent Britain's freedom, then yes. And of course, it's not the end of the New World Order completely. I mean, the City of London is still going to be there. The Illuminati will still be there. It's just they're losing control of the political structures of the world. That's the point. Blair got a posh banking job after he left office to pay off for being a good asset. Yes, he did. And he's also very high up in the EU. Eugenio, you're free to watch my videos. I have watched a couple of your videos, Eugenio, actually. I think the New World Order will not stop, but I hope it does. Hi, Ian Bennett. And hi, Pain and Death to the New World Order. Eugenio, yes, agenda on chat. Judy Wood, phony Mossad agent. No, ridiculous. I suggest you look at the various material by Andrew Johnson, he's examined the background to all this. And Judy Wood's the real thing. It's the other people. It's the Thermite. It's the Thermite brigade who are actually the agents. Fuck the New World Order, says Anthony. Yes, exactly. I agree. Yeah, the anti-globalist riots. Now, Neptune Returns, the yellow vest people, that's not been covered the way it should be in Britain. I've had to go online. I found out more. My nose is itching. I've had to find out more about that, the anti-globalist thing, from going online. The news over here has not covered it, really. Not the way it should have done. Not in the detail it should have done. Eugenio, there's no democracy. Brexit is fake. Well, depending on what you mean, Eugenio. Well, as I said, the process we have now is fake. Pain and Death says the New World Order is far from over. However, there will be no Brexit. Well, it is. We've got a long way to go. I'm not saying that Pain and Death to the New World Order. I'm not saying that Brexit is the goal. Brexit is a symptom of a breakdown in the New World Order conspiracy and the control the Illuminati has for the power structures of the world. It's essentially a big snafu in the engine room, and there's no other way to interpret it based on the evidence. If you deny that that's actually what's happening, you essentially have an unfalsifiable hypothesis. The New World Order can never be seen to end in your eyes. And we could be 100 years into the post-Illuminati period, and you'll still be peeping around walls going, my goodness, aren't they crafty? Hi, Simon Tucker. EU created by the UK and America. Yeah, the EU was created by the globalists, yeah, to bring in the New World Order, to bring in this a worldwide dictatorial government. I mean, in Africa now, what's terrible what's happening in Africa, they're very advanced. The Organization of African Unity is now very close to the full African Union. They're even calling it the African Union now, the continental superstate that covers the whole of Africa. There's one on every continent of this earth. Africa will be next after the EU. Then the others will follow. The other three will follow. EU run by Freemasons, UK run by Freemasons. Yeah, it's true, Eugene. I know that things are not over. Things won't be perfect when we have Brexit. It's not the end of the New World Order. I'm saying that it's a step in the right direction. Heath child molester. Yeah, it is. You got it wrong, Ben, says Eugenia. I know. Well, we disagree on an awful lot, don't we? Including the British Bigfoot. Videos from the Underground says, listen to the show in the car. See you. Oh, that's cool, videos. Thank you. If you want to listen to Hapanmo Radio, they're all downloadable. It's all podcasts you can just download for free. It's fine. Hugo Roon says, Brexit? What Brexit? Our military is part of the EU military. This Brexit is just a distraction for a couple of years, so we won't notice. Well, I don't think it is a distraction. However, Hugo, what you just said about the military is absolutely correct. And this is one thing that Caroline Stevens has recently exposed. That is the military, that is the unification, the military unification of European armed forces. Now, this was first suggested, that the first public release of this was actually released on the 24th of June, 2016. You know why they didn't want to release it before then? Because of the referendum. So then they brought out this idea of an EU army and an EU Navy and EU Air Force. And there was talk about there being an aircraft carrier shared between Britain and France. I remember that. I mean, it's just Brian Gerrish, who's a former Royal Navy officer. That's absolutely absurd. Absolutely crazy. This is absolutely bloody crazy. The big Scottish midge. Don't bite me. Why did they let the vote go the way they did? Surely the cabal would have fixed it. Well, they tried, Midge. They tried. This is the point. I covered this in the background videos. They really tried their best, and they failed. This is why I call this the 2016 effect. The only way that happened was they lost control. Just even if it was only temporarily, even if they're working to regain it now. For a few months, they completely lost control of the situation. Eugenio, Brexit will benefit the UK, not about migration, it's about tax. Well, of course, the European Union is very expensive. It's a big bloodsucker. Well, big Scottish midge, you know all about bloodsuckers, don't you? Because you are. But, yeah, it is like a huge midge. It is like a big midge. It drains the blood out of the member states, sucks some of their resources through regulation, through taxation. Definitely, yeah. Nigel Farage, a Freemason, worked for the City of London for 20 years. UKIP funded by the City of London. Eugenia, you're probably right there. I know that rank and file UKIP members may not be aware of this, but I think funded by Mossad, said Neptune Returns. You wouldn't be surprised if Mossad are in on it as well, yeah. Rothschild, City of London, Mossad, yeah. Vinny Evan, hello. Sorenable, hello, Sorenable. How are you? Eugenio, Ben is wrong. Illuminati stronger than ever. Well, I think they have... Eugene, I don't think I'm completely wrong. I think they did lose control. I'm not saying they still lost control now. I think they have regrouped. I think this is the Empire Strikes Back. And it's a Trump, UKIP, all Illuminati Zionists. Well, I wouldn't include Trump. Neptune Returns. Too many humans are addicted to television. I know, bloody heck. I just wrote an article actually about Beatles About. Do you remember the TV show Beatles About, that reality TV comedy? They actually staged an alien invasion in one of them. I suppose it's funny on one level, but you can just see that somebody's watching to see how the responses that the subject gave, and use it for psychological research. It's on a Panmo Voice. I just put it up this evening. and you know what? I haven't put it on the bloody... I haven't shared it again. It shares on Twitter automatically. I didn't share it on bloody... Oh, hang on a sec. I'll share it on Facebook now. I always do this. How annoying. All right, I've shared it on Facebook now. I should have done that before. I know a lot of people on Facebook are watching it anyway. Where are we? Hi, Woody Black. The big Scottish midget says, correct, the cabal will always pull the strings. Too many puppet sheep. Well, they're certainly trying to get those strings back right now. Whether they'll succeed or not, we'll soon find out. Neptune Turn says, the neighbours watch TV from 12:30 to 2 a.m. Goodness me, Neptune. Have they not got a life? I mean, it's funny. My daughter's mother is the same. When I go around and see her, my daughter's moved out, but I still go around and see the family, you know, my ex-brother-in-law and her, and she's just in front of the telly, and it's the mainstream stuff. It's EastEnders, it's Hell's Kitchen, it's all the reality TV shit continuously. And I read that thinking, you know, is this entertainment? Eugenia, City of London behind Brexit? Oh no, it's not. Ben is deluded. There's no democracy in the UK. Well, I'm not deluded, and I know that, as I said, that they're trying to regroup at the moment. Bigfoot is more convincing. I think the Bigfoot is real too. Theresa May is a Bigfoot. Well, she's not as pretty as a Bigfoot. Does Bigfoot also live in Europe, or does he favour Brexit? You know, I've never actually asked what Bigfoot actually thinks about Brexit. You know, maybe if I see one in the woods, I'll ask. Tina Silva, sing the Belgrano. Hi, Ben. Hi, Tina. How are you? Tina, could you check your Facebook PMs, because I've just sent you one. Rod, hello. Have you tried Beecham's Cold and Flu? Yeah, it has no effect on me at all. It's useless. Tastes nice, that's all. Iraq War protests. The politicians did not care. Brexit has nothing to do with listening to the British people. Well, Eugenio, I know, and this is the thing. But the thing about it is, things have changed since then, and it may be something to do with the age of Aquarius, or the 2012, or the Area Yuga, or something like that. But they're not as strong as they used to be, and they're not able to cover things up like they used to so easily. Tina Self says, no one can defeat the Spanish Inquisition. Is that a Monty Python sketch? Neptune Turns. Is John Lennon's song Imagine about a one world order? It is, you know, it's often seen as a song of peace and things like that. But if you look at the lyrics, they could be interpreted in several different ways. And one of them is quite sinister, actually. It talks about no countries and brotherhood of man and stuff like this. It's all a bit... It is slightly Agenda 21, actually, that song Imagine. So as much as I like John Lennon and a lot of his music, I mean, this is one song that could be looked at in several different ways. I wonder what he would have thought of this. I've got an awful feeling he would be a Ramona, you know, if he was alive today. I've got a terrible feeling he'd be a Ramona. He'd be pretty old. He'd be sort of like in his 70s, but I've got an awful feeling that he would be a Ramona. Oh, God, yeah. Yeah, he'd be 78, I think, or 77 or 78 if he was alive today. And I got a horrible feeling they'd be wheeling him out along with Richard Dawkins and Bob Geldof. And oh, God. I got a horrible feeling that's what John Lennon would be doing. I mean, I hope not. You can't judge the guy. I mean, he's been dead for so long. But, you know, people, especially when they get old, can be manipulated. The big Scottish midge says, May's been compromised, maybe blackmailed for hiding dark secrets from Home Secretary days. Oh, from Home Secretary days, yes. They probably got more dirt on her than a mafia judge, and that's one of the ways they control her. Brexit means Brexit, says Dan. Yeah, ain't no black in the Union Jack. I don't know what you mean by that, but yeah, it does. It means Brexit. Brexit Barry. Brexit means Brexit. Yeah. Get the foreign muck out too. Now, if you're not going to be nasty to people, all right? Oh, sorry, wrong comment. Was it? No, it wasn't. Yeah. Now, Dan, like you could, if you want to express opinions on racial issues, you can, but mustn't be rude. Okay. Moo Cow says, I saw Dan sniffing a pussy. Yeah. Eugenio says, Ben, don't be silly. We will still be part of the customs union. Well, that's what was one of the results of this backstop thing. I think the thing about the backstop is if it goes into force, which is what May is hoping, the EU can make us do whatever they want. All to protect this border that doesn't need protecting. The border that's functioned perfectly well for 100 years during transitions such as the Troubles, during transitions such as the Good Friday Agreement and the Ireland leaving the Commonwealth. So why is it going to be a problem now? Rod says, Rees-Mogg auditions for the new Darth Vader movie and Johnson as Skywalker. I've seen the video of the lightsaber fight. Dan, all right. I'm going to just move. Dan is now being rude. Okay. Actually, I think Dan and Dan, I think, and Moog Cowgate can give each other as good as they get. So I'll leave that comment there. Don't forget the tin mines in the West Country, says DJ. Yeah, in Cornwall, that's right. They've been trading since the 6th century BC. There's Greece and other things. Greece, they traded with Greece in the 6th century BC. How do they do it? How did they do it before the EU? You know, 2,500 years ago, they were trading their tin, and they actually all they needed to do was go and offer their product for money or to barter other goods. And you know what? No bureaucrat in Brussels got in the way. How did they achieve it? That's one of the great mysteries of history. Yeah. Brexit barrier. I miss the good old days of Britain. Yeah, Britain first. Well, I mean, I'm British, so it's Britain first. But Brexit, nothing to do with the British people. EDL, says Dan. Look, Dan, I think I should let you know the English Defence League is run by Mossad. All right. And Tommy Robinson doesn't know it. I mean, Tommy Robinson seems to be Tommy Robinson, I think, is a sincere guy, but he is being used. And that's a big subject. I've done a couple of articles on that. I've mentioned it in other videos. This is all, I think they want a civil war. I know, Eugenio, it's not Scragnog. Hello, Scragnog. I think the Tories scare me more than the EU idiots, though. Well, to be honest, I think they're both pretty much the same thing. So they both scare me equally. Tina Silver, E-I-E-I-O, Hugo Room. Oh, yeah, I know the English are not British. They're Germans. They care nothing about Britain. Well, look, Britain, Hugo, I think you need to do an entire video on this, you know. But English is a Germanic language. But you know, remember what I said to you in a previous live stream about the DNA tests of those graves in Suffolk, and about how that they were actually not people. It was like a cultural thing they adopted, but there was no actual migration. So yeah, I mean, we adopted a culture from the continent, but in the same way, people use the word Celtic to describe, say, Scotland and Wales, when there are Celtic languages spoken there, in the same way that there are like. People use the word Semitic to talk about the Jews, when the Semitic is a language group, but it includes Arabic. It's things like that. But I mean, that's a big subject. I know it's one that's close to your heart, and you've looked into this in detail. So I may be wrong there, but that's perhaps something we go into another time. But Britain does not exist, says. Look out for the wind. Look out the window. Well, you mean that Britain, in its traditional sense, doesn't? Yeah. Well, I mean, it's been destroyed. I mean, there's, like I said, they're moving as many foreign cultures into the country as possible, and there are several reasons for this. Firstly, to confuse and demoralize the people and destroy a sense of identity, national identity. Also, to create sides in what I think is the civil war they're planning. So it has two purposes. But you're right, and I must stress. This is not a mandate to become angry with any individual. Like I said, I live with two guys, Sudanese, and they're great. I've got no problem with them. I never have a go at them. We must never have a go at individuals. But you're right about that. Edwardian lady, Polly Three Houses Toynbee. Yeah. I can't stand her. I really can't. I mean, I used to like her because she wrote a book called Hard Work, where she actually worked as a porter in a hospital for a while. But she's now changed. She's just part of this new left. This kind of alt left, whatever they call it now. Basically, the globalist, EU supporting, immigration supporting left, which is basically what Labour is now. Yeah, I know what's British about British. Sausages is British about British. Well, no, funnily enough, sausages at Neptune Returns are one of the first things that the EU regulated. They said that the British sausages were not right and they had to be changed. I think some of the ingredients had to be changed to fit in with EEC regulations. This was even before they were still calling it the EEC in those days. Tina Seville, we had an empire, we had an emperor. When we had a kingdom, we have a king. Now we have a country. We have Theresa May. Yeah. Frankfurters are like, you know. A country is a tree that produces something, which is crossed out. Neptune Returns. John Shuttleworth. I love John Shuttleworth. He's cool. Rally Bikes. Is that factory still open, Neptune Returns? Let the sovereign run the country. God bless King Charlie. What, that reptilian? Off with his head, says Ron. Charles, you murdered Diana. Well, yeah, this is the thing. The royal family are they're part of this as well. They're part of the Illuminati. Workers are foreign. Goods are from China. Banking is run by Freemasons and the Rothschilds. Well, this is it. You see, we don't manufacture things. We import things because the globalists have decided that manufacturing goes in one part of the world. Finance goes in this part of the world. Service industry goes in that part of the world. It's been turned into one great big superstate. That's why. That's why everything's made in China and Indonesia and places like that. They make everything. We buy everything. David Schultz says, the grand plan of the NWO is to make the world a cashless society, true, and have everyone microchipped, yes. They're already using facial recognition technology at the airport in Atlanta, Georgia. They're using it. They used it at the Download Rock Festival as well. I know because my daughter went there. Yeah, Tina, that's right. Unlawful death. You've seen that film with what's her name? Allen? Keith Allen? Yeah. The one they banned. Paul Armstrong. Up yours, Junker. Yeah. What a twatty. He's a traitor to his country. He was Prime Minister of Luxembourg before he got a better deal from the EU. That's another guy who should be up for high treason, along with we should be putting Blair and Cameron on trial for high treason. He should be on high treason in Luxembourg. Tina Silver, the backstop is the guy behind the bowler in cricket. I think that. Oh, right. I know the wicket keeper's behind the batsman. Oh, right. Yeah, that's right. It's called the backstop, I think, in baseball or rounders, wicket keeper in cricket. But I know what you mean. It's the same thing. Yeah, she. Oh. Someone called Juan Gameplays 2018 is speaking Spanish. I can't speak Spanish, sorry. Saint Joe Cox said with Edwardian lady, yeah. Yes, they've named a street in Brussels after her. And she'll get the Kalergi Prize, the posthumous Kalergi Prize. Whether I'll hand it over to her as her new identity, I don't know. Eugenio, privatization. Nothing is owned by the British people, owned by global corporations. No, I'm not. That's a completely separate issue about what happens to national assets. I know they've been sold off to corporations. I myself was employed by a corporation in the hospital. Tina Silva, I saw the Berlin Wall. Have you been to Berlin, Tina? I've never been to Berlin. Ironman Spartan 2 says, Ben, do you know we still have full coal mines? I do not know why we don't reopen them and create jobs for our unemployed. Well, the reason we don't open them is because, as Arthur Scargill said, whatever else you might think of him, the government went out and destroyed them deliberately. They overpriced the products. Now we import it all from Russia. It's called the New World Order. Yeah, Polish coal is 90% cheaper. Yeah, that's right. Polish, Russian, it's all. Yeah, that's right. Tina says we can't use that. No justification for nuclear power. Well, the nuclear power lobby is like bringing up the climate change thing. And outlaw in-law. Hello. You've all been deceived. Wake up. Well, I mean, when people say wake up, it's often a way of saying, that you're wrong about something. Okay, but then you explain why. Yeah, Eugenio, did the English Bigfoot vote out? I don't know. Steve Henry, you look like a giant toddler. Where's your pacifier? Right, just remove that comment. And that one. get rid of the trolls. Good. Eugenio says, if you think globalization is going backwards, you are deluded. No, I'm not deluded. Saying someone's deluded is not an argument. I could say, if you think 2 and 2 equals 4, you're deluded. So therefore, ta-da, 2 and 2 equals 5. Is that what you're saying? Steve Harry, all right. Let me just block this person. How do I block this person? Okay. Okay, I think I'll block this one. Eugenio, Ben for Prime Minister. Oh, Eugenio, do you think they'd ever have me as Prime Minister? I was likely to be Prime Minister as David Icke is to get a knighthood. All right, thanks, Tina. Yeah. Eugenio, Boris Johnson is the new Trump. I don't think so, Eugenio. I used to think that, but I mean, no, really, if his background in the Bullingdon Club, things like that, it's just too. I think he's an insider. He's another insider. He was in Cameron's class at Oxford. I could tell you some stories about the Bullingdon Club. I'll tell you here in Oxford, they're notorious. Ironman Spartan says anyone who wants to stay in the UK should do 10 years of military service or no passport. Well, that's. I don't think maybe even that should be a requirement, or that should be that should justify or entitle you to that, because usually military service now under the current system means it doesn't mean defending your country. It means being sent off to God knows where, probably as Hugo Roon says, to fight for European rather than country, to kill enemies of Israel or the oil companies or something. That's the thing. So that's what military service tends to be nowadays. And as I've said before, I joined the Royal Navy. I was in about 4 months and got kicked out, and probably for the best, actually, under the current system. There'll be a time in the future, I think, when it may be a good thing, actually. Military service can be a good thing again, but it's not now, not in this day and age. And as Hugo Roon says, but Brexit being a farce, yeah, the way it is now, yeah. Mr. Man, hello. It'll go on forever. They will drag it on. They'll try and drag it on forever. But the question is, the EU hopefully will not last that long. Neptune returns. Boris Johnson burnt £50 notes in front of homeless people when he was at university. Oh, you've heard, haven't you? You've heard about the antics of the Bullingdon Club. They did it, yeah. They did horrible things. They burnt, I heard it was a £20 note, but knowing them, it may well have been £50. They just held it out to this homeless person when he reached to grab it. They got a cigarette lighter and they burnt it in front of him, this is awful. This is a terribly cruel thing to do. And they kidnapped a tortoise called Rosa Luxemburg, a 150-year-old tortoise who used to live at Balliol College, and she's not been seen since. And I think they killed her. They probably killed her and probably ate her knowing them, after they used her for some kind of sexual practice. 150-year-old tortoise, dead at the hands of a bunch of rich thugs, basically. Champagne louts. The elites love it. Yeah, I think Boris. Forget Boris. He's just another. He's like Farage. He's another insider. And do you know what? I'm suspicious of George Galloway now. Do you remember when it was him, Boris Johnson, and Nigel Farage on the pro-Leave side? I thought, what's he doing there? Because he spent the last few years on his show, because I used to listen, I do listen to his show still. I used to listen to it a lot more, going on about how important the EU was, debating with people calling into his show about how we had to stay in the EU or else. They didn't even vote Theresa May out and put a Brexiteer in. Yeah, all pigs in the trough, oink, oink. Exactly, Mr. Man. It's pitchfork time. Yeah, Edwardian lady. Yeah, I mean, it could come to a situation where we claim our rights under the Magna Carta. There's no barons anymore, but we can still remove the government under the Magna Carta. In which case, these people will be charged with high treason, which carries the death penalty still. Eugenio, Tony Blair spelled it out today. Oh, to hell with that creep. UK wants custom union, wants to opt out of laws and taxes. He's a horrible, horrible man. Invest in hemp. Yeah, well, I think I know what you mean, DJ. Thanks for saying it in a legal way. Yeah. Ben's got his yellow vest on. Yeah, well, it's not one of those driver's ones, but it is yellow. Where are we? Right. John Daniel, hello. If there's a second referendum, then democracy has failed. Revolution time it's been fought on less. Well, you know, John, yeah, the thing is, if there is a second referendum now, I think the Remainers will get it. I can sense the energy going out of people. And it's the battering that we've had over the last couple of years. It's too much for a lot of people. And there's all, I mean, do you see how they pummeled us during the actual referendum period? We were hit with everything, fears about economy. We were called racist. We were called haters. We were compared with the Ku Klux Klan and things like that. And now, so I think there's a limit to what people can take, especially when they can't necessarily see what the rest of the people who are conspiratorial aware can see, have a much wider view of what's going on. A lot of people will simply see a breakdown of the system and the idea that this is just too difficult. It's causing chaos. Let's just end the chaos now by cancelling the whole thing. Let's just go back and start again. Eugenio, I have a Masonic floor in my room. Well, it is actually. Yeah, it's not actually Masonic. I mean, it's just what was in here when I moved in. I've been in this room a year and a half now. It's the same place I was living in before. I just moved from my smaller room into this bigger one. Hugo Roon. Consider the British Isles includes Ireland. Yes, we need to reclaim Britain from the English. English out of Britain. Oh, Hugo, you're in trouble now, mate. I don't think, as I said to you previously, why are English people not British? You could say, well, why are Welsh people in British? Because, well, I know you'll probably disagree with me, but I mean the Celtic languages were only spoken from 900 BC. So does that mean there was no one here before then? Anthony Morn, what's a referendum? What does referendum mean? Well, Anthony, don't you know? It's where the government decides to basically put a poll of the entire population for a policy. Maceth Brewer, that's an interesting name. Why are you so against a general election? Because it would simply, if I'm against it, I'll read the rest of your thing in a minute, all right? But it says, you said, why am I against general election? Because it's a fraud. A general election would simply replace one team of con men with another team. If Labour wins, what happens is we'd have Jeremy Corbyn as Prime Minister, which wouldn't, Corbyn's not a problem because Corbyn, I mean, I disagree with him politically, but he does have a philanthropic instinct, which would act as a filter to prevent him doing anything really bad. The problem is he's only going to be Prime Minister a few months. He'd be lucky if he gets 6 months. Then there'll be an Ides of March situation. And he'll be lying in the back benches with Diane Abbott's knife in his back. The danger with Corbyn is not Corbyn himself. The danger is that he is the key in the door to some of the most utterly disreputable people in politics today. Not just Diane Abbott, though she's the worst. There's others. Basically, the entire Labour second echelon are appalling people. They're the scum of the earth. What would it mean for me as I'm a white heterosexual male? What would it mean for me with Diane Abbott as Prime Minister after everything she said? You must remember that history shows us that kind of hatred mixed with political power leads to atrocity. There's many, many historical examples, whether it's Rwanda, whether it's East Timor, there's a list, the list goes on. We see it today in South Africa. Diane Abbott cannot be Prime Minister. And if she is, I won't be safe. And neither will any other white person, especially white men. We won't be safe. Anyway, I'll carry on. You are blaming the EU. This is McCurth Brower again. You are blaming the EU by not being Democrat. You still try to suppress a general election with a referendum, eh? You're blaming the EU by not being Democrat. You still try to suppress a general election with a referendum. I don't know what you mean by that. Second referendum is only option left if politicians can't decide. But you see, the thing about it is it will be the only option left, but it won't be because politicians can't decide, McCarth. It's because they will have essentially engineered a situation where they can't decide. Iron Man Spartan, stockpile water, food and medicine, just in case the country turns into a shitstorm. Well, I think Iron Man, I think that's maybe not a bad idea, because, but the thing about it is, if it ever gets to that point, I'm not sure, I don't know how things will go from there, but I mean, I'm personally trying to prevent that situation from arising in the first place. That's my effort. Brexit means exit, says Mr. Mann. Yeah, there's an exit in it, that's right. City of London run the UK, Eugenia, Brexit is fake news. We are already in a shitstorm. Well, yeah, Tina, if things, as I said, Tina, this is the biggest parliament, this is the biggest political crisis, I think, in living memory. Her partner, Tina says her party might send her to stay in a hotel in Brighton. Stay in a hotel in Brighton. Oh, well, whether the bomb was before, yeah. Neptune returns. Ben has a Freemasonic checkerboard floor. Oh my goodness, Neptune, we're gonna have a conspiracy now. We'll have Alan Watts going, oh, I'm absolutely convinced that Ben Emlyn Jones is a Freemason. Iron Man Spartan says, yeah, mass rioting, no food in the shops. I mean, yeah, I think maybe if that happens, it's either the beginning of the end and we're finished, or it's the end of the political order and it's like it's chaos before the post-Illuminati world. And either way, I hope it's the latter, because then once we're at the point where there's mass rioting and no food in the shops, things are either about to get incredibly worse or they're about to get incredibly better. It's either one or the other. Eugenio, I live in London, Ben. All my English friends moved away. Britain, yeah. Well, London is like, as I said, London is this. I think it's been used as almost like an experiment, and by creating massive amount of foreign immigration. As I said, this is not something. This is not a reason to become angry and resentful of individual people. This is a reason to oppose the policy which created this situation. I mean, if my housemates, my two housemates, I mean, I like them, I like living with them, but I mean, I think I understand that it might be better all round if they return to their own country. And I think they know I think this. And this is not to say I wouldn't miss them, and I like them living with them, but I do understand, without any resentment to them as individuals, that they really shouldn't be here. Hugh says Gaelic, both Irish and Scottish, Cymraeg, that's Welsh, and Cernyweg, which is the Cornish language, which is related to Welsh, are British language. English is not. English out of Britain. Do you know what I mean? The English language, you see, it's true. The English language didn't emerge. You're right, Hugo, in that the English language did not emerge in Britain until, I think, the early Middle Ages, where it took off. It was adopted by the people here. However, the actual Celtic languages can only be traced back, I think, to about 1,500 years before then. That's a subject for another. I know you'll probably disagree, and that's a subject for another video, perhaps. But is it? Yeah, Eugenio, you need to look out the window. Tommy's a Mossad shill with all the rest of them. Well, you know, Eugenio, I think so. Although I've seen him waving the Israeli flag. Tommy Robinson. I think he's a sincere guy, and I don't think he's a bad guy, but he's being used. English out of Britain. The English have destroyed Britain. I don't think that's fair, Hugo. I mean, I'm Welsh. I mean, I understand. I know that in my country of origin, it's very trendy to just hate the English. And I know. I mean, I've known people who like that. But it's like, in a sense, I think this is a problem which has led to an awful lot of problems, especially in Ireland, because one of the reasons Ireland were hoodwinked into the EU is because this fixation on beating the Brits. And I've talked to Irish people about this. That the Irish have a weakness, and I think the EU and the globalists have exploited that weakness. The idea that Ireland can simply—it's physically impossible for Ireland to have any foreign enemy apart from Britain. And after Ireland became independent, basically that's it, over and done with. So if the EU want to come in and take them over, well, so what? They're not British. The Celtic nations of the earth, and I'm speaking as a Welshman now, it's the same in Scotland, it's the same in Wales. The Celtic people of the British Isles, and Hugo, you're not going to like this. The Celtic people of Britain are like feminists. They have a victimhood mentality, and they're addicted to it. And they've got to snap out of it. My first novel, actually, Evan's Land, was all about that. And which is not on sale anymore, I'm afraid. There's just an audio book if you want to listen to it. The Normans destroyed Britain, said Edwardian lady. Well, you know, there's a theory, Edwardian lady, that that there actually was the New World Order actually was suspended at the end of the Roman Empire during the Anglo-Saxon period, and it was only taken up again after the Norman conquest. And I don't have the details now, but I've talked to a lot of people. There's someone in Glastonbury I was talking to saying that basically Anglo-Saxon times, and Hugo's not going to like this either, but Anglo-Saxon times actually an intermission. It was actually a kind of 2016 when the Britain slipped from Illuminati control after the fall of the Roman Empire, and it was only regained by the Norman conquest. That's very interesting you said that. Thank you for that comment. Eugenio, the only true English residence is the English Bigfoot. Well, yay. Put that in your pipe and smoke it, Hugo. We've all got to go. We've got to leave Britain for the Bigfoot. Bigfoot rules. Yes. Churchill did, Mr. Man. Yeah, Winston Churchill was somebody who Winston Churchill was a individual who was a manic depressive, who was it was a head case, and he was put in charge of the country. And he was an alcoholic, and he was in a terrible state. Those famous speeches he read, it wasn't him talking. It was this actor, this guy who used to read Winnie the Pooh on BBC Radio for the BBC. It wasn't even him. Listen to the voice. Listen to the voice of the recordings. It's him, you know. Yeah, Churchill. Yeah, Iron Man 2. Churchill the bastard. Yeah, Mr. Man. Churchill helped the commies win World War II. Yep, exactly. BAJ 51. Oh, Ronnie Barkey. Hello. I thought I knew that avatar from somewhere. Hello, Ronnie. Oh, I've got to go back up now. Hang on. Where are we? Let's go back up. I slipped. He gets the old slipping thing again. Hey, Ronnie. How are you? Ronnie Barkey, my good friend. Eugenio. Yes, Nigel Farage, City of London sues. Mr. Man, EU will collapse within 10 years. Mr. Man, he'll be lucky if he gets 5 years, the way things are going. Good job. Neptune returns. Irexic Party Island. Is there now? Because I know Dave Cullen, Computing Forever, was interviewing a guy from, I think it was the Irish, forgot what the name of the party was, but it was a really interesting interview. He was interviewing a guy who was head of a party, which of course has been branded racist. Of course. But basically they want Ireland out of globalist control. And they understand so much that other Irish nationalists never did. You know, that Britain is not the only foreign enemy you can have, your country. Your country has a far more deadly enemy now, one that's already conquered Britain. And it wasn't all over when you freed yourself from British rule. You just, less than a century later, another enemy appears. And these people understand that. So I don't know if it's the Irexit Party. Is that what it's called, the Irexit Party, Neptune? Because all I know is that Dave Cullen did an interview with this guy. It was very interesting. Diego, Rothschilds want to crash the market. Well, yeah, Eugenio, they will do if it suits them. They really will. Mr. Man, there's a rubber dinghy armada coming over from Calais. You know, Mr. Man, it's funny that this has now come up, this whole idea about the Calais jungle and things like that. Just at the same time as there's a strange thing in America with the caravan, as they're calling it. It's almost like it's timed. It's almost like timing. I don't think these things are a coincidence. Maketh Brower says it's EU sickness, nationalism, and small nations bickering on every issue. Well, I mean, yeah, the thing about it is they may, ironically, it's possible that the globalists will tap into nationalist sentiment in order to engineer a civil war. In fact, I think that's what the English Defence League has done. I think the English Defence League is a part of that. As much as I say there's decent people in it, Tommy Robinson, he's not evil, he's not a racist, it's scum or whatever people call him. I think he's being used. Eugenio, a new world order begin to need to crash the markets. Merkel is Hitler's daughter. Well, Neptune, it's funny. You see the two pictures of them together. It's very interesting. They do look similar. And it's funny about Hitler, because Merkel was an East German communist. Well, not was, is. Do you know Hitler was a member of the Communist Party? There's a documentary called The Real Adolf Hitler. And it appears that he was a member of the Communist Party. It portrays him as a much more of an opportunist than he appears to be now. And I know someone's going to say, yes, but have you seen Europa Final Battle and things like that? Yeah, I know that he's not the monster he was portrayed as. I know that. But it doesn't mean necessarily he's a good guy either. And that's an important point. New World Order is on plan. Brexit is a part of it. No, Eugenio. They will destroy the old order for the new one. Yeah, they are. They're trying to. Hi, Paul Armstrong. Good evening. Mr. Mann says they should block all the ports and the M25 ring road with lorries until they give us Brexit. It's what it hurts. Oh, I'd like to see that. I really would. The French are good at that sort of thing, actually. The French are really good at this direct action thing. No, they're not. They are getting stronger since 2016, but I don't think the New World Order is on plan, Eugenio, because if it was, you wouldn't be seeing this rebellion in Eastern Europe. Yep, that's right. Jack Parker. Hello, Jack. Could you be more specific as to how to do that to the New World Order? Are you talking to me? Marching is ineffective, Edwardian lady. Not necessarily, Mr. Mann. Marching, and I think now more than ever, I think it could actually be effective. It's simply, it's an act of solidarity. It's like someone sent me a petition saying, a no-deal Brexit, and the person who sent it says, well, there's no real point filling this in. And I says, no, it's an act of solidarity. People see it. That's the point. 69 Phuket. Hello. Let's take all mushrooms and realise the truth. Hey, Terence McKenna is alive and well. Nihilist Lives Matter. Hello, Nihilist Lives Matter. Will I still be able to get Jaffa cakes after Brexit? Well, there's no point. No, you won't. You won't want any Jaffa cakes because you'll be dead because Godzilla will have eaten you up. Haven't you seen the front page of The Guardian? Neptune returns. There's a huge coverage of Brexit in Ireland in order to put the Irish off Irexit. Yeah, absolutely no coverage of the UN Migration Pact. They really are playing this border thing as much as they can, Neptune returns. That's this whole backstop thing. They really are hoping that little line across the land, that little thin blue line, will destroy both our countries. Sparreich, hello. Yes, why do we keep discussing the divide and rule propaganda that is Brexit? We should be uniting and dealing with the real issue around the world, which is the satanic Freemasons. All right, look, Spar, I know about the satanic thing. It's not divide and rule propaganda to discuss Brexit. Okay, it's not. It's possible there are ways of subverting into that, but I think it's not. I think Brexit is a symptom of a breakdown of the control system. Brian Gerrish's controlled opposition, no doubt about it. Oh, here we go. You're going to give me a list of shills now, aren't you? I'm sure I'm on that list. I know that Jungle Surfer has got me down as a shill now. He's got a list of shills, there's about 100 names on it, and I'm on there now. No, Paul, I agree. Gerrish, I know Brian Gerrish. I think he's a good guy. Caroline Stevens has talked to me about. We may well bring him up tomorrow evening on her show. So do watch Stepping Stones to Awareness tomorrow evening because I'm going to be on it. Spar Reich says, you're all just repeating lies we've been told from the papers. No one knows what Brexit or what not Brexit will mean. It's all games and politics. Things will be as bad no matter what when these people are in control. No, Spar Reich. Otherwise, look, why don't they just take over now? Things don't always go their way. Eugenio, we need Yoda and then Chewbacca. No, that's something I really do agree with. Yoda, no, it's Lives Matter with the old brackets around it. Is Yoda Jewish? Oh my God, I'll have the anti-Semites. The anti-Semitic accusations are going to come my way now again, aren't they? What was it in the last one? In the last hangout, I was homophobic anti-Semitic, and anti-Gypsy by the end of it. Do you remember? And we were only talking about Bob Lazar. What am I going to be tonight? Eh? I should point out, actually, that in all seriousness, I'm going to do another live stream before the end of the year, before Christmas. And it's not going to be on YouTube. It's going to be on another platform. And I'll send you the details. I'll put the details on YouTube, though, on a notice. So I'll tell you how you can watch it. But I've just got to think about, the fact of the matter is that people like us are not going to be wanted on. We're not wanted on YouTube, and they're kicking us off one by one. Which means sooner or later, this YouTube is just going to become YouTube TV. And there'll be nothing on it except mainstream news, mainstream television programs, and the only independent content creation will be little videos of puppies playing in their paddling pools. The exciting stuff will be on BitChute and on Steemit. That's where we'll have to go. Literally, we are being handed our hat by YouTube. There's no doubt about it. So I'm going to be discussing that in a future live stream on a separate platform. Yeah. May would be rejected as a non-human, dancing like a marionette. Yeah. Unless she's a reptilian. I'll say that in all seriousness. Maybe these people are not human. McEarth Brower says the New World Order is East rising and West is struggling to find a way out. Isn't the business as usual? Go Piper Jane's music channel. Piper McFarlane. Hello, Piper. Have you got a music channel? Nice one. Jeff Moss. Don't forget Bono. Oh, I try to forget him every moment I can because I can't stand thinking about him. Neptune says Tommy Robinson is thick in the head. Tommy. I don't want to be rude to him, but he seems that he has been he has sleepwalked into this. And I feel sorry for the guy. I really do. I think he's sincere. Tommy Robinson is concerned about very legitimate issues that would concern any decent person. The terrorism. He doesn't accept false flag terrorism, but there is some real terrorism as well. He's concerned about that and about the child abuse scandals and things like that. Well, who wouldn't be concerned about that? And they're basically now using him. He's now he's a guest of the House of Lords and things like that. David Schultz, Lenin was 40 years ago. He's 40 years old when they knocked him off in New York. That's right, yeah, he was quite young. And again, the guy who shot him, he's, I forgot what his name is now. He's, you can see he's completely and utterly, Chapman, Mark David Chapman, complete MK Ultra. You can tell it immediately. He's really, really strange in the head. Neptune says the doorman in the hotel shot him. It might not even been Chapman. That's it. Mr. Man, I'm sorry, it's buffering. Everyone else okay? Can you all hear me okay? David says UKIP is the way if all else fails. I don't think so, no. 69 Phuket. I am a troll and I live in a hole. I've actually put Stephen Henry I've blocked because he is a troll, calling me a toddler and things like that. If you do that, you get kicked off, all right? David says, Tommy Robinson moved to UKIP was a great move. It raised the stakes. Like I said, I think the moment Tommy Robinson has been used as a football because he's the source of this internal strife that's making the party is just obsessed with at the moment when they should be getting the job done. Diego says, Chuka Umar comes from an Illuminati family connected to MI5. Does he? Umar, does he? I mean, I don't know much about him, except I know that he's one of these people who wants to... I think there's going to be a fight between him and Diane Abbott over who becomes the first black prime minister. If it's got to be one or the other, then probably he's better than Abbott. Although, to be honest, I mean, if he's from an Illuminati family of MI5, the thing is, no one becomes prime minister unless they want you there. This is why Corbyn's going to be out. Corbyn will last 6 months if he's lucky. He'll either have a heart attack generated by a Mossad poisoned umbrella, or something else will happen to him to get him out of the way. DJ B2 tortoise soup. Yeah, they turned Rosa Luxemburg into something to eat edible, I think. Eugenio, Galloway claims to be a Marxist, but is Roman Catholic. He claims to be almost everything at the moment. He's a bit like a chameleon. He changes his spot all the time. You know. Hugo Rune, DJ, hemp rope. I have quite a few cannabis stems collected now if you want to start off. Yes, Hugo, light up, man. Mr. Man, Diane Abbott for PM. Shut up. David, no second referendum, riots and civil war. You know, I think there probably will be a second referendum at some point. I do hope people respond to it the way they should, which is outrage. I really hope they do. Alex Fade, hey Alex, how are you? Behave, Ben. Peter Steins, hello. Neverendum, yeah. Neverendum actually is a term coined by David Cameron. He said that we're not going to have neverendums. Basically, he abandoned the idea of a second referendum. Hi, Peter. Mr. Man says David Lammy, B-O-A-K. I don't know what that means, but David Lammy is a horrible git. David Lammy he's one of these people like Richard Dawkins who says, forget the referendum. We should, you know, he's disgusting. He's absolutely disgusting. DJ Butu, think about John Brown dying before Blair. What, John Brown? Yeah, or John Smith, you mean? Do you mean John Smith? I can't get this bloody picture straight. John Smith's heart attack. Awfully convenient, that, wasn't it? Labour leader, set to become Prime Minister, and he has a heart attack, coincidentally, to allow Blair to become Labour leader and then Prime Minister. David, Labour is Antifa. Yes, it is now. Eugenia, Ben and Diane Abbott would make a nice couple. She'd be under the patio within 6 weeks, honestly. Ben Perryman, what do you think about same-sex marriage? Me, I'm actually pretty neutral about it. I consider it a part of other people's private lives. I know other people who say it's awful and it's a symptom of the collapse of civilization and all of the Western nations and things are going downhill because of same-sex marriage. I don't think it really matters. I think it's rather than. I think I'm neutral about it. Like I said, if two blokes want to get married, fine with me. Two women, absolutely fine with me. I think it's sad that more men and women don't get married. That's a sad thing. So I'd like to see opposite sex marriage increase rather than same-sex marriage stop. Mr. MT says, if we get arm wrestled into another referendum and the votes reversed, I will riot and kill Romanian MPs. That's how strongly I feel. MPs. I mean, obviously I wouldn't recommend anyone carry out a criminal act. Okay, let's do it through the law, Mr. MT. I think we should have maybe there is going to be some cases of treason and high treason. There's going to be some trials, and the consequences for the people who found guilty will be serious. Let's just say that. But now you should. I think bloody hell, I'm going to have to. Sorry, Matt. I'm going to have to get rid of that. I'm sorry, Mr. MT, but they. Neptune returns. Blair and Brown whacked. Well, Blair will be kept for as useful as he is. Jeff Moss. I've just eaten 2 butter pies on the trot. Jeff. Ben Perry. The EU is run by homosexual paedophile Zionists. Well, it's been I mean it's run by I don't know what their sexual orientation is, and I don't really care. But I know that there's a lot of paedophiles in there, Zionists and Satanists and people like that. And Zionism, just to point out, it's got nothing to do with Judaism. The two are very different. You could be a Zionist without being a Jew. You could be a Jew without being a Zionist. This whole idea of connecting Zionism to Judaism is simply a way of demonizing people who stand up to Zionism, calling them anti-Semitic and calling them things like that. I've got some, what's this? Classic Cars of Harrogate spotted says there is a what? Oh, hang on, got to go back up again. They're all Rothschild bitches. Whoever gets in is corrupted along the way. We're fucked, and it will never change. Ha ha. Have a good night. Up the MWO. I don't think so. Classic Cars of Harrogate spotted. That's an interesting name. Like I said, there is a way out of this. There's a way out of the New World Order. It doesn't have to be the way that they're saying here. Mr. Mann says, Round my way, all the old bids. Buy up all the food whenever snow's predicted on the weather forecast. Well, it depends where you are. I mean, if you get your weather forecast from the Daily Express, we're about to be buried in snowdrifts. If you get it from the Met Office, we're due for cold, hail and light snow and things like that where I am in the country. Hugo Room. The Irish are British. British Isles. Oh, yeah. Mr. MT. The Irish were German sympathisers. Scum. Are you talking about World War II? No, they were neutral, but the IRA actually used to refuel the U-boats. There was a big scandal over that because they found the old rusty cans at the Dingle Bay. I remember that. Goon Love. We will never be apart from the EU. Well, Goon, there won't be an EU soon if we're lucky. Louis Two Shoes. What's that big silver thing behind you? Ah, now that you have to watch Dreaming Sources. Watch the Dreaming Sources video for an answer to that, especially the Oxford Truth Tour. And you'll find out exactly what that thing is behind me. Goon Love, the Kalergi plan is on track. No, it's not. It was until 2016. But it's not the... Well, they're trying to get it back on track now. Stuart Morris. Hi, Stuart. Hi, Ben. Just started watching. Can you start again? Lol, good stuff. Oh, Stuart, I'm sorry. I can't start again, but there will be a recording of this live stream. You can watch it all again. Okay, sorry about that. Churchill of the Queen's dad, says Stan Smith. Is he? I've got a feeling that Churchill might be related to Aleister Crowley. I think I saw that somewhere. Goonlove. Farage has been paid off by Soros. He's certainly been paid off by somebody, and Soros is the obvious possibility because he's the big globalist. He seems to be the big globalist power break at the moment. Theresa May and Roy Hodgson are the same person. Are they? Still got some photos of them. Rod says, need a third referendum. Well, I'll tell you, Rod, if there's a second referendum and it's leave again, they will demand a third one. Just you watch. They'll do it. Theresa May's Roy Howard. Neptune returns. Ben should have a relationship with Diane Abbott and have mixed race kids for the elites. Like I said. I think any children I have for the elites would probably, if I was having children for the elites, would end up on the sacrificial table at the Illuminati temple. And as for a relationship with Diane Abbott, as I said, it wouldn't go well. Hugo Room. MDMA is good too. I prefer to mushroom. MDMA, that's the same thing as ecstasy, isn't it? Oh, right. Hugo, you should. I'm sure you probably have already done it, but check out Terence McKenna's lectures. They're very good. Eugenio, will the aliens intervene to save humanity? Eugenio, I don't know. I mean, if they want to offer any help, I'll happily swallow my pride and accept. I'm not sure, actually. It could be the only thing that can... divine intervention of some kind might be our only option. David Lammy, said Mr. Mann. David Lammy claimed £100 last year on expenses for Jaffa cakes. Well, then he's going to be... Maybe he'll if he's got this addiction to Jaffa cakes, maybe he'll rethink his European Union stance then, because he knows that with Brexit, there will be no Jaffa cakes, will there? Because they won't be able to import them because we need the EU to do this for us. Stan Smith, the no confidence vote was rigged. It wouldn't surprise me. And Goonlove agrees. 69 Phuket, nation of shopkeepers. That's what Napoleon called the British. Just pull out and start shouting our wares. Yes, exactly. Who'll buy my Stilton cheese? Buds, pick your own. 69 Phuket, why not? That kind of shock therapy might be exactly what we need. It might be the only thing to break this down. Hanafi Din, hi Hanafi. Brexit is planned by the elite. We will never leave the EU, but the UK will be further eroded and divided. It's divide and conquer. Well, I mean, Brexit is not planned. What's Brexit? The Brexit as it originally happened was not planned. They're trying to re-rig it now so that but it was not planned by the elite. No, it wasn't. I've explained why. But you're right about the rest. They want some sort of civil war. Mr. Mann says, looks like the middle upper classes remain against the working classes leave. That's right. This is a very, very interesting situation because there is a massive class divide here. And there's a racial divide too. It is essentially white working class people who are on the Leave side. I mean, there are many exceptions both ways, but mostly it is. And this is why the Labour have exposed themselves, that they no longer represent those people. As I said, they're the party of the left-wing middle class and protected demographics. They are not interested in. They hate the white working class. I mean, Polly Toynbee has essentially said that. They're not even hiding it anymore. How have you done? YouTube Rewind proves YouTubers know nothing edgy will be allowed. They won't allow anything edgy. That's the thing. It's all going to be boring mainstream stuff, and the exciting stuff will be on the independent platforms. It'll be on the blockchain video streams. It'll be on the peer-to-peer systems like BitChute and Steemit. We're going to have to go there. That's in the end. I mean, I'll keep using it till the wheels drop off, as Paul Joseph Watson said. But basically, this is why I'm getting used to using other platforms. If you check my BitChute, subscribe to me on BitChute, because I'm there. I'm on Steemit. I'm on Vimeo. I'm in as many places as I can be, so that all my eggs are not in the YouTube basket. I'm currently uploading my back catalogue all my back catalogue is going onto BitChute at the moment. Articles 11 and 13 will destroy YouTube. Yeah. You know what, Neptune? Even YouTube are complaining about this now. Every time I log in, they've got this thing saying, Article 13, what will it mean? So even they're against it now. Well, I mean, as Slacks has said, I don't know how many of you follow him on Facebook. He still uploads videos to Facebook. In the sense that they've made their bed, let them lie in it. What goes around comes around. 69 Phuket. Who will buy this wonderful feeling? I'm so high, I think I can fly. Happy Christmas. Well, 69 Phuket, whatever you're on, I want some. Merry Christmas. Mel O'Brien, nice one, nice two. Lisbon Treaty 1, Lisbon Treaty 2. Brexit 1, Brexit 2, of course, Mel. Hello, Mel, by the way, and that is exactly the pattern. Ben Parryman says, Theresa May is the first reptilian leader we've had that actually does look like a lizard as well. I don't know. I thought Pope Benedict was a good candidate, and of course Prince Philip. I mean, he looks like something you dig up in and put in a museum. Mr. Mann says, what says to 69 Phuket? Why aren't you on boring Steve Turgoose's stream no more? Steve Turgoose, who's he? The particle sounds creepy, says 69 Phuket. Sugaroon, John Lennon is not dead. His death was faked. Oh no, my goodness me. You can tell me Diana's alive next. Well, no, you didn't. You just said it wasn't. She wasn't. But is John F. Kennedy still alive? Oh my goodness me, it's getting more complicated. 69 Phuket says, I discovered my summer car. 69 Phuket. Veach did a Zen video recently. Is that Charlie Veach? I've got to go back now. I haven't watched his channel for a while. I made a video about Charlie Veach a couple of months ago because I saw he was back. I've not actually done. I've not actually looked at his channel since then, really. 69 Phuket. Basically, if we can jump the credibility wall, no sex marriage is worse, Mr. Mann says. Apparently, I think it was what 60% of marriages now are sort of like, not 60%. What was the figure? But a lot of people who are married now just never make love. And again, this is because I think it's got a lot to do with feminism and cultural Marxism, breaking down relationships between people. And I've done entire videos on that. But basically, very, very few people actually have friends or relationships, or they have close friends. I mean, loneliness now is like an epidemic. It's actually the medical authorities are concerned about loneliness. And well, DJ B2 says here, feminism and Me Too has destroyed a lot of male-female relationships, both personal and professional. Yes, exactly. That's what it's for. Right. What will happen to French kissing after breakfast, after Brexit? I think I bet they'll ban it. I mean, if it's not banned by some, if it's not banned by the backstop agreement, then the feminists will probably have a go at it. Neptune, transsexuals are 0.02% of the population. We must pander to them. Well, Neptune, I think transsexuals are people who are essentially suffering really badly and they're being used as a political weapon. I think that's really bad. 69 Phuket says, don't have new smartphone face each other. or Twitter. I don't know what that means exactly. DJ B2. French kissing will go back to being called gob tonguing. Is that what it used to be called? Well, you can rebrand it, can't you? So it's called something else. That's probably a way of getting around the regulations. There'll be lots of things like that. Maketh Brower says, Remain equal no deal. This is an option bot. Like I said, I think no deal is the best way out. It's not going to happen, but that's the way it's got to be. Diego Eugenio says, Ben, energy prices have gone up again. French-style riots and protests soon. Well, you know, if we sign up to this Paris Accord, this Agenda 21 style climate change thing, hopefully, and will we respond the same way? Because just think the damage it's doing, raising the price of fuel. Nutrient machines, Brexit. Deal or no deal with Noel Edmonds? Expect a phone call from the banker. 69 Phuket. French own our energy. C'est mad. I think that's a French word, though. Maketh Brower. I don't know about a third referendum, but a fourth referendum will be sick. A fourth referendum will be with sticks and stones. We know they will keep going on until they get the results they want. Eugenio, David Lammy and Chuka Ummah both supported the Iraq War. Well, if you're in Labour now, you have to support these things. Yeah, it's like there's loads of people like on the Labour side or the left wing side supported the war. There's Christopher Hitchens, I remember. I got a feeling Christopher Hitchens supported it because it was good for getting a debate with people. But oh yeah, a lot of them did. They saw it. I mean, I think they saw it as somehow. I mean, there's several people have written books about it. I'm not sure. 69 Phuket. Noel will be good for PM. Mr. Blobby as Home Secretary in hiding. Yes. Have you seen Noel Edmonds on This Morning? He was on there a couple of days ago talking about cancer cures. Do watch it because he is getting like David Icke. That guy, Noel Edmonds, is really up on it. He is fighting back against the bankers because he's like part of the Lloyds Bank resistance because the people who were screwed by Lloyds Bank. He's a leader of that as well. John Daniel says, champagne socialists. That's what they're like. Yeah. Neptune returns. Is Western civilization about to be destroyed with all the craziness that's gone on in the last 5 years? SJW's PC global insanity, etc. Well, I think they're going to try. That's what they try and do. When they say Western civilization, what they mean to destroy Western civilization, they mean the current functional world order to which the new world order is destined to replace. It's not necessarily Western. It's worked pretty well all over the world in different forms. That's what they want to destroy. That's what they want to get rid of. 69 Phuket. Yeah, you know, Slaxer, I'm still watching Slaxer. You see, 69 Phuket, he says he misses Slaxer. I do. But, I mean, I do a bit because I can't comment on his videos now for some reason. But Slaxer is still uploading. He's uploading to Facebook. He has a BitChute account, which he hasn't really used much. He's uploading to Facebook. Eugenio, YouTube does not show likes as often. YouTube is shadow banning a lot of people. I mean, and shadow banning can also involve things such as taking down, like removing visibility. A lot of people have found that their viewing counts are going down, and people find it harder to find their videos on searches and things like that. 69 Phuket. Brexit sponsored by Kellogg's. 69 Phuket. Ben is catching up. The end is nigh. Well, it's like I'll be going for 2 hours, 10 minutes, and I'm going to have to stop at some point. But 69 says Euro's own energy and transport. Well, 69 Phuket. What about free energy? Did you see? If you want to go off on a tangent, that's one to go off on. I mean, the whole thing, it all ties in with the free energy issue and disclosure. These things are all connected, you see. Hello, Real Life Captured. Who's interested in a Casbolt video? I have an exclusive coming up. James Casbolt, Real Life Captured. Is that right? I'd be interested to see that, but I don't know is he still in jail? I mean, last thing I heard, he was still in jail. I know he's hoping to get out soon. I'd be interested to see that. But if you have the exclusive, by all means, yeah, I'd like to see it. 69 Phuket. We're due a caning. Oh, who's that by? The end is coming, says Neptune Returns. The end of what? The end of the beginning, as Churchill said. Well, you know, maybe this could go either way. This could either be like the last hiccup before they really get into the New World Order, or it could be the beginning of the end of the New World Order. I don't know. Manchester is blue. Hello. After like 8 years of being a sub, finally I can witness the JR Port alive. Oh, thanks for subscribing, Manchester. And yeah, I mean, that's what I like about these live streams. I can talk to you guys directly. You know, we can talk to each other. Rod, do you not think that the most of the major press are foreign-owned and are being politically manipulated? Yes. Hugo Rune, the bell end is coming. Sorry, I'll get my coat. Hold on, Hugo. It's not over yet, but it is. I've been going for an hour, 2 hours, 10 minutes. I have my limits. Interesting. I'm going to, on Sunday, I'm going to the Bases Christmas Bash. So if any of you are going along to that, I'll see you there. And as I said, I'm actually going to be filming at in the Bases studio with Caroline Stevens on Stepping Stones to Awareness tomorrow at 5 p.m. if you want to see that. Tomorrow I'm going to be travelling there. Sue Goodall is a strong woman myth. Who's Sue Goodall? I've heard that name somewhere. Wasn't she the one who looked after gorillas in the jungle? Was that Jane Goodall? Sudi Goodall. I don't know her. Vanya Patterson. Hello, Vanya. Ben, my Facebook notification that you were live has only just come up. Vanya, I'm sorry about that. Yeah, I actually didn't. I'm sorry. I didn't put the I didn't actually share it on the Facebook until the thing was an hour over. I'm sorry about that. That was my fault. I've got to remember that. Eugenio, Susie Goodall, strong woman fail. I don't know who Susie Goodall is. Real life captured. Footage from jail via mobile phone footage and sound recording. Real life captured. I don't think is that actually allowed? Maybe, did you get permission? I mean, I don't want to get Kaz Bolton into trouble. You know, I don't want to get him locked in the solitary confinement or something. Or put on cleaning out the shit houses and things like that, which they do to prisoners if they break the rules. So, you know, make sure you have permission before you upload it. But I'd be interested to see that. I hope, well, James is someone whatever happened to him, I don't know. Whatever caused him to end up in jail, I'm not sure. But, you know, I don't wish him ill. Pictures that he drew. Oh, yeah, I've seen some of his pictures real life because he sent them to Miles and Miles showed them to me. And he's a good artist, yeah. Thanks, Manchester. Thanks for subscribing. Mr. Mann, are you going to see Richard D. Hall in April, Ben? Yeah, I am, I think. I'm going to see him in Newcastle again, I think, although other people might invite me because I went to see him 4 times this year because people just kept inviting me to go with them. It's a sort of a social thing. So I went with them. So I saw Richard 4 times. I'm sure Richard has got me down as some kind of MI5 agent who's following him around to keep an eye on him. But honestly, it's all completely innocent. People just kept inviting me to go with him. I booked my own ticket to go and see him in Kingston, and then someone said, "Oh, come with us. We're in Newcastle." I went on tour in Newcastle, and they said, "Come with us." The Truth Seekers Northeast people with this hat here. They said, "Come with us to see Richard." So I did. And then Mark Devlin said, "Come with me. I'm going to go and see him in Birmingham. Come with me, Ben." And Mark lives near me, so we went together. And then Sophie the Porter's poet had invited me to go with her and her husband to Weston-super-Mare to see him there. So I saw Richard 4 times. I didn't get bored either. It was a good show, really good. Neptune Return says, "Will Bigfoot be at the Bases?" Well, if he turns up, be sure that I will let you know. I don't think Miles has invited him, but he might turn up. Hey, Vanya. She was rescued from her boat, says DOG. Who's that? Oh, Susie. Oh, that was the woman on the boat. She was the yachtswoman or something. She was some... Oh, yeah. I saw a bit about that. Hugo Rune. You're going to see him in Nottingham. Oh, right. My ex-partner lives in Nottingham. I mean, I don't know. You know, I told you about her, Sue, and Sue Estain. I don't want to bump into her. I'm sorry, mate. I know it's been over 2 years, but, you know, I'm still hurting. I'm still hurting a bit from that. But I'm going to go and see him somewhere. I'm not sure when. 69 Fugate. On Mani Pamihun. Is that what Veach was doing? Sailing around the world. That's right, yeah. She was like this round the world yachtswoman. Like that Ellen Duncan. Not Ellen Duncan. Ellen McCarthy. And Che Blythe and all these other people. Francis Chichester. Real life captured. He's on the protective custody wing. Right. Is that like, is he going to be, I thought he was going to go to an open prison. He's going to go to an open prison for a few months before he got out. Sailing, yeah, that's it, her. That's her. Mr. Mann, the London one. All right. Is he speaking in London? I don't think he's back at Kingston. Ben, you were in a prison room, aren't you? Neptune, I hope not, unless they've locked the door on me. Thanks, Real Life Captured. Let me know. On Manchester. Chat keeps freezing. I'm sorry, does it, Vanya? The chat keeps freezing. Sorry about that. Nothing matters anymore, says 69 Phuket. Eugenio says, Ben, do you mention aliens on your dating profile? I don't have a dating profile. Funnily enough, there is actually a special dating agency for loonies. I wrote an article about it on Japan My Voice. There's a guy I know, actually. He is actually a member of this particular thing. Billion views. Hello, Billion views. I'm rooting for Brexit. I hope you can break away from the toxic EU. Yep, me too. That's right. I've caught up with the end of the chat, and it's now 11:15. So do you mind if I go to bed? I've got to. Well, I don't have to get up too early, but I do have to. I have to get to the West Country tomorrow for filming. I've got to do this filming with Caroline Stevens, and then I'm going to the bases Christmas bash. So do you mind if I call it a night? 69 Phuket, a recap. All right, guys. Vanya Patterson, 69 Phuket, Eugenio, Hugo Rune, night Hugo, blah, bar humbug. You're not Christmassy then. Night DJ B2, thank you. Nighty night. Night Neptune returns. See you, Alex. Nice to see you again, Alex. Bye-bye, Mr. Man. Phuket's already asleep. Godspeed. Thank you. You take care, guys. All right. Thank you. Bye, Charlie. Bye-bye. Bugger off 69 Phuket. Bugger off yourself, bastard. See you, guys. Night-night, Goon Love. Night-night. If you missed anything, don't forget to watch the recording. See you, Mel O'Brien. Bye-bye. Night-night. Mr. Man. It is like the Waltons, isn't it? Da, 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 da. No, I'm getting tired, man. I'm getting tired. Oh, you guys are great. Thank you. It's really great to have another live stream. There'll be another one before Christmas, but it won't be on YouTube. Night-night, Eugenio. I'll keep you posted. I will let you know on YouTube. Night-night, Jim Boy. Yeah. But there'll be a notice on YouTube. It's going to be on an independent platform. I want to just do this as a test. See you, David. Thanks for tuning in. Coming all this from David and Val. Thank you, David. Is it David and Val? Thank you, David and Val. And you guys take care. And there's going to be another videos coming soon. I've got some plans for some more replies to Steve mumbling and lots of other things. There's going to be more about the Penturk incident and another UFO disclosure video before the end of the year, I hope. Jay Hobson is asleep. Night-night. I won't be long. I won't be far after you. So take care, all. Thank you very much for your contribution. Thanks for watching this live stream. And see you again soon. Have a nice weekend. And if I don't see you before, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.